And now I'd like to introduce you to one of our guests of honor, the only one who comes by that honor formally. The Honourable Rick Bartolucci was first elected to the Ontario Legislature in 1995 and re-elected to represent Sudbury for a fourth term in 2007. He's currently, of course, our Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, but he's held the portfolios of Community Safety and Correctional Services and Northern Development and Mines. We have an experienced minister. Please join me in welcoming our Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honourable Rick Bartolucci.
It's a podium I can see over, so that's good. Thank you so much for the very, very kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very happy to be here today, and I want to thank you for inviting me here. We will be doing a variety of things during the day, and I'm going to be spending lots of time learning from you. And so the Premier appointed me to this very, very wonderful portfolio just about 3 months ago. And I want to say to you how exciting it is for me to be working with professionals. The professionals not only at the level of politician that we have in Ontario on both sides of the House, but the level of professional that I see within my ministry, within our ministry, within the different associations represented here today. What I plan on doing in the next little while is trying to give you a little flavor of Rick Bartolucci, and so that you can understand what your minister is all about. And then I will be talking a little bit about the $1.2 billion and how we've used that. Then I want to highlight a little bit about the long-term affordable housing strategy without giving it all away. And then I want to talk about some of the challenges we have as we move forward. Rick Bartolucci grew up in the Italian neighborhood in Sudbury called Gatchel. Richard Bois, who's a part of you and been a part of you for 15 years, would know where Gatchel is. I am the son of an immigrant bricklayer, an individual who came to this country at the age of 14 years old with $5 in his pocket. I was blessed to be given the first suitcase my father came to this country with. It wasn't a very big suitcase. There wasn't much in it. And I am very, very proud about how we grew up in Gatchel. David, who is here, knows very much about my background, so it'll be a repeat for him. But since he's from Sudbury, he's an attentive listener. We grew up with 4 children in a 2-bedroom home. Our toilet facilities were outdoors. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but money wasn't important. My father and my mother taught us that every challenge you meet in life is an opportunity to be successful in life. That's the type of upbringing I had as I moved from very early on in my life to the teenage years. The teenage years were interesting years for me. I chose to leave school, and I became a laborer in construction because my father was a bricklayer, and I wanted to be like my dad. So I worked as a laborer in construction for a little while and decided that it was a good idea to go back to school. And went back to school, became a teacher, and spent 30 years in the classroom, and then in administration. I like to think that I spent 30 years in the lives of the students that came into my care over these years. I like to think that I spent 30 years as part of their families. The approach that I believe I was brought up with was one of interactive participation, full participation. It's what channeled me into running for politics. And I'll give you a little history of why I got involved in this. It was a very selfish reason. I was married and had children. My wife wanted a playground for one of our children. And I went to see the alderman at the time, who had been a lifelong friend, who had been our alderman, our local politician, for a long time. And so I asked him, will you build a playground? Will you work towards building a playground? And he said, nah, it's not one of my priorities. So I ran against him. And we have that playground, and I named it after him. The reason I named it after him was twofold. One, because he was a good man, and he died in public service. He was a wonderful man. The second was selfish, again, on my part, because I wanted my children to understand that in life, sometimes we have to work for things, and sometimes we are successful. We're not successful always, but we'll never be successful unless we work for it. And so that playground became sort of symbolic for my family and my community. And the rest is history. He said I ran in 1995 because I believed there was a need for new balance in Sudbury and in the province of Ontario. I've been successful, and the Premier, when we formed government, blessed me with different portfolios that I have to tell you form the basis of some very, very positive opportunities. There is no such thing as silos. I don't believe that we can accomplish anything by ourselves. We must work together. I've learned that in my three ministries, so diversely different in scope and mission statement, are so closely interwound. The Ministry of Northern Development and Mines, now Forestry. The Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing may have different mission statements, but at the end of the day, the foundation piece that causes all of these ministries to work is the people of Ontario. You are very representative of the people of Ontario. You come from various backgrounds. You do many, many different things. You ensure that your voices are heard and the changes are made. You have a very important role to play in this government. You have a very important role to play in this ministry. You have a very important role to play in the future direction of this ministry or any other ministry, but I'm going to focus in on this ministry this morning. Keith, in his introduction, said that he wanted to portray his business as business with a heart. Well, I think it's essential that government live its mission statement as governing with a heart. And there is no better place in the world to do that than in this ministry. Access to good housing has a direct and positive impact on health, education, and the economy. That's you. The home is where your children develop good study habits. Home is where we look after elderly or infirm family members. And home is where we plan our futures and build our lives. We know that when we invest in housing, we invest in the future of our great province, and I'll speak further to that regarding the investments we made and the challenges ahead, as I said. But there is no question that this conference is extremely important for a variety of reasons. It isn't only about sharing good stories, it's about learning capacity. It's about increasing capacity. It's about developing the continuity of cohesion within a system that brings about dramatic results. There's no question that nonprofit groups are vital partners in our efforts, our collective efforts. Doing a little bit of research and listening to advocates within your association, sometimes we forget who we touch. So let me just review. Nonprofit housing provides crucial assistance to a wide range of people in our province. We know that to be true. We should never take that for granted, because when we say a statement like that, we're talking about the single women and men in the province, senior citizens, victims of domestic violence, persons with developmental or physical disabilities, persons with mental illness, and those who struggle with homelessness. A government cannot have a heart if it doesn't listen to people like you, to your association, both individually and collectively. In just 2 decades, your association has grown to include more than 760 nonprofit providers in 220 communities in Ontario. Together, you're operating thousands of nonprofit units across Ontario. But the most important thing about these numbers is what it means in terms of people. Some 400,000 people are benefiting from your efforts, and that's something that you deserve to be very proud of, and I want to ask you to give yourselves an applause. By the time I'm finished, that table is going to be right here. Through your excellent efforts, by meeting you and your reputation, I am reminded of the legendary Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky was asked by a reporter, what is the difference between a good hockey player and a great hockey player? Wayne Gretzky said that a good hockey player skates to where the puck is, a great hockey player skates to where the puck is going to be. Clearly, ONPHA makes a habit of skating to where the puck is going to be when it comes to housing, when it comes to meeting the needs, the critical needs of those 400,000 people and more. You are making a significant difference in the lives of a great many people and making a very positive contribution to our province.